First. I should be watching chess. Why should I be watching chess? What? Why? What is happening in chess? Did they add new guns? They added new maps to chess, right? Season 5. Season 5430 of chess. Oops. $3080 Ti, that's starting to be like a ridiculous number. What, they need to reset their model numbers again. They need to go back to GeForce 1. I mean, come on, man. Did we ever find the cowabungas? Yes, we did. It took a while, but we did. Also then, so at the end of the last stream, this wasn't working though. And I debugged it late last night, and it was a very simple problem. Oh, well. There's this whole situation that we have to deal with. Yeah. Anyway, I want to fix this the right way rather than changing it back to calling a function. But basically, it was a very simple problem where this wouldn't work inside a polymorphic procedure because we just weren't copying the new data member that we added to it when we copy the polymorph. So that was good. You had to make a class that defined the days of the week. Of course. How can you have days of the week without a class? That doesn't make any sense. Oh my God, dude. So many people don't know how to program. It's crazy. Okay, so one thing, I realized yesterday that all this code can mostly go away. Let's do that first because it'll be fun. And then there's some other stuff about run and insert that we got to fix. But so what I want to do is just make a function that says, generate statements format is a string, returns a string, and it's going to do all this stuff that we keep doing. So we do this. And we do all this, right? Except ensure we are a struct. Okay, so instead of this, we're just going to use format. We'll even make that compile to, no need. Okay. Anyway, so we're going to do that. And we're just going to call this by all these things. So let's make sure that compiles. Oh, right. So for example, we're going to grab this format and we're going to say run and insert generate statements s comma this. And that's going to be the whole thing, right? Except we broke it. Wait, what? Why did we break it again? What's going on? Maybe I messed this up. Let's see. Okay. Wait, we didn't call that function. Wait, what? What? What is going on? Oh, no, not test, this. Semicolon. Gotta fix that. Okay, so we screwed up somehow. Generate statements of S with that format string. What's going on? What? Something bad is going on here. Uh-oh. Okay, so first of all, this can be type. Oh, I did T instead of S, guys. I'm dumb. All right. There we go. See, T was type, so like, why did I even make that a polymorph variable? We know this is a type because we're passing in the type that we want to do all the members from. This is what happens when I program first thing in the morning. All right. So, let's get rid of this stuff. This is a very simple function that just puts together these lines. And we use it down here. We're going to copy this because this is a thing, this represents a thing that we have to fix. Okay. Anyway, now that we have this, we could use it in not only here, well, okay, we could delete this. So the whole idea is our thing just looks like this. We generate for all the members this and return, right? That's very easy. And then same here. For set, we're just going to go, it's just going to be one line. It's going to be this same thing, but with this. And ideally, we would do that for, so our for loop is broken, so we're ignoring that for now. That's a different thing that we have to fix. Let's put that up here. So this is going to be nice and neat. Now, the thing is, we can't do this here yet because this doesn't work in data scopes yet. And instead of doing a bunch of ugly things to make it work in data scopes, I want to do today maybe the new way that all this stuff is going to work in data scopes. Both run an insert and macro expansion and static if all kind of do the same thing. And it's kind of ugly right now. We want to make it not ugly. How many seconds have I shaved off compile times? I don't know, because we make things faster and then the programs get bigger and they get slower because the programs are bigger. You know. Okay. So once we can do this, we basically want to be able to do the following thing. We want to be able to do this where we have a struct and then we run an insert, generate statements of this string instead of this other string, right? And then that's the whole struct. For now, maybe we add more stuff later. But like, this whole thing would go away, right? Etc. Oh, except this is T. So at that point, this becomes very simple, which will be great. Anyone can look at that and kind of get what's going on. fact, we could make generate statements down here and just call it statements, right? So then, bam, 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 and this is gone, and then we'll clean up this later, and it'll be shorter. And it'll be so nice, dude. That'll be great. It'll be great. Okay. So, I think step one, I want to go through the rest of the code, like everything, and run tests and stuff. Well, I want to remove body text from imperative code, because the whole point is, okay, remove implementation of body text. We want to get rid of this because this is better. And so, well, first we get rid of the imperative scope ones and make sure that everything works, right? And then we get rid of, and then we make this work in data scope and we get rid of the data scope ones. Sounds easy. Problem is, well, not necessarily a problem, but like, dude, I haven't run tests in a long time. So like, there might be other test failures that I don't even know about that have nothing to do with what I'm working on, because that might be a thing. So we need to run tests. So first of all, there might have been, I don't know, unrelated breakages. I hope not, because maybe other people are running tests. And then secondly, I might have broken something in adding this, but maybe not. All right. Oh, yeah. So this won't compile until, so this isn't going to work yet. That's debug compiler. Let's do release compiler. Okay, so whoops, the test script is grabbing every file with the right extension. And so if I save a junk file like asdkfjka ksdfj, it'll try to use that as a test. So ASKD, sorry. There's more than one? Oh. No, never mind. Okay. GL new. That's like not. What is this? Is this something Ignacio did? I don't know. Now it looks old. Okay, this is like local to my machine. Okay. I obviously haven't run tests on here since we changed it to auto detect things. So let's look for unversioned files. It's a lot of them. I mean, in theory, we can delete all that, so why not? You need to provide administrator permission to delete this file. Great. Okay, I hope I didn't break anything too bad there. All right. We are running tests. was wondering if some pragma to make the compiler decompose arrays of structs to arrays of their components would make sense. Well, we did that way originally, and it wasn't flexible enough. It wasn't flexible enough. I mean, you can watch, if you go on the YouTube playlist for the compiler, there's a video from a couple years ago, at least, where I demoed a built-in SOA feature in the compiler, and it was something that a number of people were excited about, and I was always like, I don't know, actually. And, oh, that's another thing we can do, is clean any SOA stuff out of the compiler. It might all be gone, but there's definitely some comments. Oh, we have old commented out keywords that we don't use anymore. We do have a little bit. It's probably just a few lines of things. But we can clean out the comments. Okay. So we ran the tests. That's great. So let's look for body text. See, this old bugs, I think we're just going to delete that. There's no sense in keeping a regression test around for a thing that doesn't work that way anymore, because you're like, okay, that's a struct body anyway. See, this kind of stuff, this actually could be done much more straightforwardly now. Like, all these lines go away. And then this gets simplified. All right. We're just going to delete it though, because this is just a catch-all bugs file. The same thing. All right. Maybe we got them all. Debug info tests. Okay, well, that's not a thing anymore. Just delete this whole function. Those are empty. All right, so let's assume that's going to finish. All right, so we've probably got a couple here. Okay. Well, that's gone. Okay. Well, let's make sure the game builds and runs before I start tweaking it. All right. Great. Okay, so we're going to do this, again, not with body text, but with the run and insert thing. So this is going to go here. Oh, dude, right. I forgot about, when I was doing the SOA thing, I forgot that you could just say %1 and pass the thing once. Ha ha. Ha ha on me. Ignacio got it right. Yeah, this is the same thing that I was doing. Okay. Okay. So like that. That's the new way that we do it. I think I could do this. Except this stupid thing that we got to fix. Must return a string. Oh God, I don't check to see if it's a function. All right. For now, well, so the question is, do I fix this or do I finish removing the body texts? And I guess I fix it because this problem may come up in other cases. So let's fix these things. So I want to start with the dumb things, like why do we need a frickin' semicolon here? All right. And I need to work out this whole thing about implicit return value. So like when you, let's go back to SOA for a second. When you say this, it actually currently wraps that with a whole extra procedure that returns the last thing as an implicit return value. You might say, well, why don't you just notice that this is a function returning string and not do that? And the answer is because when we set this up, we don't know the types of anything. So, yeah. And then the question might be, well, why are you so stupid? And the answer is, because man, sometimes it's complicated to try to balance all these factors that we got to worry about. So, yeah. So, it's just time to question, should I do something better there? When it comes to run directives, we certainly could make the procedure later, the implicit procedure thinger. Because you don't really need it until it is time to run. But that doesn't give it time to percolate through type checking in the way that we normally would. But maybe that's fine. So if we say run and then a thing, I'm not actually sure why we would need to wrap something like this. The only time we need to wrap something is if there is an explicitly written lexical block. In which case we could make a function there. And if it's run and insert, we could say it returns string. Otherwise, we could say it returns nothing. Yeah, so nobody really assigns to a value in these cases. So I'm leaning toward that. I'm leaning toward, let's change run directives to only like make a function if you run them on a block. And that might break some things, but hopefully not. So let's change this back for a second. So I'm gonna put the version of this that we want here, and I'm just putting it back because I want to change the way run directives work, which may well break some things, right? Okay, since the compiler passes some tests, I'm going to check that in. Add initial version of run and insert in progress. Come on, bro. Oh, yeah. All right. I'm going to take this out for a second. Maybe not just for a second. Oh, come on. What? Do I have multiple no check-ins here? Yeah, okay. We have that in our notes. It's okay. What? Ask.h. What have I been doing? Okay. So we're going to put that in our list. Clean up string generating site on directive load. More? How many of these did I put? And then there was also in typer this. I remember this now. Let's build the debug compiler and run it on everything, because that assert wouldn't go off in release compiler. If we build the debug compiler and run it on everything, then we can simplify all this out. Of course, it's C++, so it takes a year. This will take longer. Because it's the debug compiler. And who knows, maybe it'll assert on something scary. You never know. Well, while these are running, what's going on, chat? How are things? Best resource to go deep into game programming with C++ for someone coming from Unity. I mean, that's just a very general question, right? The thing is, have a specific game that you want to make, have a specific thing that you're trying to do to make that, and then we could answer more useful questions or give you resources. But just saying, I want to make games in C++ is it's a little broad. It's a little broad. Do I think that it could be useful to make a dereference operator? Could possibly move relative and SOA pointers to user level? No. There's no such thing as an SOA pointer anymore, first of all. Secondly, relative pointers, no, because it's not just dereferencing. It's like if you assign a relative pointer from one thing to another thing, the compiler has to translate the address, right? So it's not that simple. Who knows? We might do a dereference operator at some point, but it wouldn't solve that. How far am I with the texture optimization? I just didn't do it yet. It's not a big thing. It's not a question of how far would I be. It's not really an optimization too. It's just a change in what we would be doing. Have I had many practical issues with relative pointers? Are they vital, I think you mean, in the type system, and that they require any value storing them to be addressable? Or is this not an issue in day-to-day use? They require any value storing them to be addressable. I mean, we already have that, right? So like, you know, if you're gonna pass something by pointer to a function, it has to be addressable, right? That's a concept that already has to be in the language internally. We don't make a big deal out of it, like it's not something the user really has to think about. But yes, in terms of compiler optimizations, it doesn't make sense for something to live only in a register like that, right? That said, so I haven't used relative pointers a huge amount yet. I was gonna use the type info table to have it use them because that would cut its size down like really significantly, but I haven't done that yet. But when it comes to like using them and passing them around and stuff, the general thing that we do is that they autocast to non-relative pointers, right? And so you might have a relative pointer in a data structure and pass that to a function, but it would get autocasted to an absolute pointer, and you need that, right? Because the problem is that like your data structure is probably in the data segment, right? And that's probably far away from your stack. So there's no guarantee that even a 32-bit pointer can like refer to both of those things like within the same range. So there might just be no ability to do that, right? Like if something wants a relative 32-bit pointer as a stack argument and you pass it a relative 32-bit pointer from the data segment, that just like doesn't totally make sense. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to go to absolute, right? So you have to think of it as a data storage thing. That said, yeah, I would like to, if I could figure out a way to put that at user level and not pay for it much and get it out of the language semantics, that would be nice. It just hasn't been clear to me how to do that. Can you ship a direct 3D game without the user having to go through the DirectX installer? Well, you can run the installer in silent mode. All right, so this passed. So let's clean this thing up. We're going to say assert queued expression equals run. Currently, if a run is flattened into someone else's expression, caught in infer types, that may not be the best place to do it, though. Okay. So, bam. So we're just going to run all these debug tests again, just to make sure. And that's going to take a second again, but we're being paranoid. We are being paranoid. We are being paranoid. What do I think about language server? Somebody can link you a speech that I gave in Russia about what I think about language server. If they don't, maybe I will. But yeah, so because relative pointers are weird that way, they are a little bit questionable in some sense, right? Like, not sure exactly. Not sure exactly how many problems people are going to have with them in that way. So we'll see. Do we have tools to auto-convert? Not really. Someone might have sort of made one, but not really. Yes, so that talk that Sapper123 just linked will tell you what I think of language server things in great detail. Has there been some feedback from the beta? No, because, I mean, the people I sent it to are not necessarily going to be serious users of it. They have a different reason for wanting to see it. And, like, they work for a real company, so they probably are not going to look at it until next week. Wow, I'm yawning a lot today, man. I might need to spend a day in bed. How do you really refactor an email? What do you mean by really refactor? What's an example of really refactoring as opposed to fake refactoring? Windows 11. No, see, Windows 11, Windows will never be rewritten. That's the thing. It's too big. They can't do it anymore. They've lost control. It just has to be replaced eventually. Too big to fail, exactly. Well, sort of. Microsoft fired their kernel team? What? Are you serious? Well, they are rewriting the Windows console terminal. Yes, the Windows terminal is like 0.001% of Windows. And they can barely even manage that, and they're doing a terrible job. So what do you expect? I mean, this all looks good to me, man. Who knows, though? Maybe there are more no check-ins that I didn't hit. All right. Yay. All right. Good. So that's checked in. So now I'm going to monkey around with run directives. You mean just refactor? Well, I don't understand the question. I mean, how do you refactor code? You change things. A text editor lets you change things. So yeah. I mean, if you mean things that so-called refactoring editors do, like semantics preserving transformations and whatever, there's probably some stuff for Emacs that does that, but I don't use it because I could barely handle Emacs as it is. In different file, well, I mean, yes, my code is in different files. We have more than one file. I seriously, I don't understand the question. Like, what's an example of a refactor that you're talking about that you don't understand how I do? Because I don't even get the question, man. More than one file? Oh my God, how many files do we have? I just added some files. So we have that many files. It doesn't say number of files, but it's that many files. In the compiler. That doesn't count the game and the libraries and all that. We have a lot of small files. I'm not a big fan of small files, so we might have to go through and like actually merge some of these later. I mean, a lot of them are headers, so what are you going to do? It's C++, right? You assume something like renaming a struct in the whole project. If I'm going to rename a struct, I just global search and replace the name. Should you invest time learning about Emacs? No, I don't recommend it. I mean, there is definitely some stuff about it that is interesting. There's some stuff about it that was promising in the 80s and 90s, but it's too old and busted at this point. It's not, you know, like you have to program it in a crappy dialective Lisp, and that's no good. 87, where does it say 87 files? At the top? What, am I blind? Am I blind? Oh, 87 files. Okay. That's a lot. What is the Lua script for? There shouldn't be one. What Lua script? Down at the bottom. I don't know, but if someone added a Lua script, I'm annoyed. Oh, this. No, this is our terminal telling us that it doesn't want to be software. That's not part of our thing. If you're building a sane and secure OS, what would you want to let a user-line program see? I don't think it would get to see the file system like at all. I don't think that's a thing. Except for, like, you would have a common file area that anyone's allowed to see, right? I don't know. I haven't thought that seriously about it, but it would be along those lines. I wouldn't skip somebody straight to that language server part of that speech because you really need to see the whole talk to understand what I'm talking about. Deserves a hunting stream? No, they already fixed this bug. The problem is the new consoles are even worse. So I'm back at this, and no, I have a zero tolerance policy around bugs like this. I don't fix bullshit bugs in other people's software because that was their job. And I'm busy enough doing my job. If you can't get your thing to work, I'm not going to bother getting it to work any better than it does, okay? Which is also why I can't use Linux. Because, yeah, it's bananas, dude. Something like Rust's option so the compiler can check if null is handled. No, there's no specific plan for that. It's something that we'll think about doing if we can find an actual reasonable way to do it, but it's not obvious how to do it. So it is. I would call that a low priority thing that we would look into. You're writing a couple of your servers in C++. Well, good luck with that. Hope it goes well. The only reason to do the language enforced optional is to me bug about monads. I mean, not really. Like an option type. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. You heart being smug about monads. I just don't like a monad, like literally isn't anything. Like I just can't, like being smug about monads doesn't make sense to me because it's like all you guys did was invent a thing that helps you hack around the rules you put in place in order to be able to do what every other programming language just does. So like, it's like literally not anything. But see, there's safety. Or whatever. Like every time I watch somebody, on YouTube has many videos of people explaining monads and how cool they are. And every single time I'm like, okay, wait. So what's going on is you drank a lot of Kool-Aid, and so everything tasted like Kool-Aid. And then you drank a little bit of water, and you were like, oh my God, not everything has to taste like Kool-Aid. And that's your amazing revelation. I don't know, man. It's so weird that people get on the monad hype train. Okay, let's do some more work here. We did a good cleanup just now, and let's fix some stupid stuff on run directives. There was this whole thing about how we don't do the semicolon, and I don't know why. I remember seeing some comment about that. Where was that? Don't expect an eat semicolon below. Why not? Why not? What happens if I do? Does something bad happen? Dude, C++ is going to drive me crazy how long it takes. I don't know if we had any run directives. All right. Well, maybe that was an old thing. All right, so maybe this was as simple as why would I have not wanted to do the semicolon? That's weird. That's weird of me, man. We used to skip directives, but I don't know why, exclamation point. Okay, so if we go to SOA, okay, so probably what still won't, okay, okay. I bet if I do this, that probably still won't parse. Yeah. So let's try to do this a little bit smarter. Okay. So if we get a block, we could put that. And And then hopefully we check that correctly. Okay, great. Problem solved. Let's make the release compiler. Let's get rid of this. I didn't trust that. Let's rebuild the whole thing. Thoughts on Vim ? Why would I have thoughts about Vim? I don't understand. People want me to have thoughts about all these things. It doesn't, I mean, shouldn't I have thoughts about like how to design programming languages? Like an editor is something that anyone could think about. Well, designing good designs of programming languages is also something that anyone can think about. People just don't, or they don't do it very well. So thoughts on having thoughts. Do I like it? I have never used Vim. I have never had a reason to use it. Why would I use it? Actually, that's not true. I did use it yesterday on Linux. And you know what? It's VI, just like from 1988. Like, I don't... That's my thoughts. I mean, I guess there's an improved part. I don't know what the improved part is. I haven't looked. I don't spend my time learning how to use editors. Really. Do I test innovation in other languages like Swift or ... No. No. Do I plan to support coroutines or fibers? Probably not. No. Maybe fibers at some point. But you have to understand all this coroutine and fiber stuff that languages are doing is it's not from people who know how to do high performance parallelism. Man, I tried to watch a video from the Erlang guy. Do I still have that open? No. I tried to watch a video yesterday from the Erlang guy, and I just couldn't get through it. He was all about how message passing concurrency is the way to write programs. And I was like, oh my God, dude. That's why nobody uses Erlang. Except for Hacker News kids. He literally has a slide where it's like all these other languages like C++ and C# and blah, 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 like 15 different languages. They all use this terrible shared memory concurrency with mutexes and stuff, but only Erlang and Elixir and like one other thing use message passing concurrency, and that makes us better. And it's like, no, dude, there's a reason why nobody else does things that way. It's because they're actually results oriented, unlike you. Oh my God. Like, yeah. I don't know. I mean, sometimes if everybody's doing something, it could be wrong, but sometimes you have to ask why everybody's doing something and why you're not doing that thing and whether that's a good idea. Was it the video with Alan Kay? No, it was just a lecture. I could probably find it on YouTube. Let me look, since I'm ranting. Is there a way that I can just look at my history on YouTube? Should I use my browser? Erlang. Like, YouTube knows what I've been watching. So why can't it just tell me? This one. It was this, how we program multi-cores.
Suddenly the entire programming model degenerates and written it in such a way that you can't run it on two computers. So the way we start scale nicely. So I really don't want to program these different things in different ways.
It just, I mean, I'm only 20 minutes in, but I just like, I couldn't keep going. I couldn't keep going. I mean, maybe it gets more practical later. I don't know. You assume that means no async and await. That's correct. Fibers are good for servers because you usually have to wait a lot for network during the process of a request. Okay, but why does that mean fibers? Did I hear about CRR and DSS? No, I have no idea what those things are. In Game Engine Architecture, Jason Gregory from Naughty Dog says that their job system uses fibers. Yes, he also has a GDC speech about that. I think it was him. It was definitely, or maybe it was Insomniac GDC speech. I don't know. Anyway, the thing is that the kind of job system like that where, so I don't have super much experience with this kind of job system, but that kind of thing where it's just like, hey, we've got a bunch of threads hanging around waiting, and then they pick up a particular job and do it, right? I mean, that seems good in that it keeps all your cores occupied and stuff, but it has very poor coherency in terms of what task is being done when. And there are drawbacks to that. Like it penalizes you to a significant degree. Like I tried that on the compiler, right? So we did this on stream, although I don't think I YouTube archived these streams, but we tried, when we were doing the message exporting to the user program, I wanted to parallelize that. And first I did it just with a dedicated thread that was idle a lot of the time because it's not that much work, but it was like, hey, we pass this thing to the dedicated thread, the thread does the work, that then passes it to the user code. And then I was like, well, let's put that into the job system because that's the better thing to do. And we put it into the job system and it got a lot slower. And I was like, whoa, wait, what? And it kind of makes sense the more that I think about it. But yeah. You could use system threads, but at some point it's better to have something lighter. I don't know if I agree with that. You got to understand that I think most people don't really know how to program and are making bad decisions, right? So the fact that everybody does things a certain way right now, or many people do things a certain way. Of course, I just said this to the Erlang guy, but the opposite. But like I think most people program badly. So because certain patterns are popular doesn't mean I think they're a good idea, right? Now, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at doing a server in a long time. Last time I did servers, I did them by, just doing a select or poll on the socket and read input and respond to it all from one thread. So I don't necessarily, I don't know. I might do it differently these days though. It's just I haven't done it in a long time. So I don't know. So I'm not saying that clearly fibers is not worth doing. I'm saying I haven't seen evidence that it actually is, which doesn't mean that evidence doesn't exist. It's just that the statement that a lot of people do things that way does not count as evidence in the current programming environment where everybody does random stuff all the time and most of it's bad. That's all I'm trying to say. Not for performance reasons, just to increase concurrency. Wait, what? Why do you want to increase concurrency if not for performance reasons? Okay, again, so academic people make this distinction between concurrency and parallelism, and this has crept over to industry people for some degree. So like Rob Pike has his talk that I think is terrible called "Concurrency is not Parallelism." To me, concurrency is a weasel word that means low performance parallelism, right? As far as I can tell, that's what it actually means. So I don't know why you want to increase concurrency if you're not increasing parallelism. What's the point? You're just making a program that's harder to understand. So why would you do that? Do I use a C++ standard threading library? No. I use operating system threads with a very light wrapper that's like 100 lines. Just write a specific thing in one operating system using that operating system's thread primitives if you want to learn. That's the most direct thing to do. You could do a while loop and keep the state of a request in a struct, but it's just better to have a stack to keep state. Why? Why is that better? Okay. So we fixed our semicolon situation. And I think that means that we could check off this item. I'm just going to put it down there though, because it's maybe not verified that it's good in all cases. So this thing, run an insert return type. Let's delete that, whatever. So we're going to do these in this order. We're going to go there and then there. And then go down. Less code. Is it less code? Why is it less code? What do I think of LaTeX? I haven't used LaTeX since 1990. It was a long time ago. I hardly remember anything. That may be an exaggeration. It might have been like 1992 last time I used it. You're linking me an MSDN thing about concurrency. Well, I guess I'll watch that at some point. CCR is a piece of managed technology.net that provides an unusually high degree of concurrency for developers targeting Windows. The coordination concurrency runtime. Again, I mean, I'm reading this and they're not saying parallelism. They're saying concurrency, and concurrency is a weasel word. So I already don't know what to think about it, but I will watch the video sometime. Dude, stop bothering me about syntax, all right? I'm just not going to read syntax questions. Okay. So, okay. I remembered something. So the reason, so I was talking before about like the wrapping that we do with an implicit procedure around the thing that we're running in a run directive, and is that necessary? Is that a good idea? And I was like, it seems like we don't need it most of the time. Okay, the thing is, if we're in a data scope, the code there like needs somewhere to live in order to run. It like needs to have a procedure made in order to even exist. And so I think avoiding that is, in some limited small set of cases, is probably not helpful. In fact, it probably can't be done reasonably. So the approach is going to be a little different. It's going to be that if we see a block, we make that the procedure. Except we can't do that in a naive way. This is tricky. This is really tricky. I don't know what's a good way to solve it. Oh my God, guys. I need to make a rant about coroutines and why we're not doing them. Because people say this stuff all the time. Coroutines are great until they're not, at which point they're horrible. Oh my God, people are asking me really a lot of really annoying questions. I can't deal. I'm going to stop reading chat for a while. Sorry, that's just what happens. It's like, it's weird. It's like people who aren't following along then ask really aggressive questions about things that have been answered many times over the years and that I've spoken about many times. And it's like, dude, at some point, just go do the research, man. Don't ask me an aggressive question about something to which the answer is just out there. I don't know what's going on today. Maybe I shouldn't stream on Saturday. Maybe all the Europeans have had, I don't know. I don't know what Europeans would be eating to make themselves so uptight, but I don't know if it's Europeans, but it's suspicious because it is Europe-friendly time slot right now. So who knows? If most of the stuff out there is bad, what do you recommend we learn from? I don't know. It's a hard problem. You have to just anytime somebody gives you advice, right? Look at what they have actually done and how successful it's been. And even that is not that easy because like, oh, I'm somebody who was on this big famous project that you heard about. And it's like, well, was that person a major contributor to that project? Were they responsible for good things about it? Or were they just like a hanger-on? Because big projects all the time have like 10% of the people who were the real people who made it happen and 90% of the people who helped a little bit, right? So just be careful who you learn from, right? Because most people out there giving advice are not giving good advice because they're not the right people to be giving the advice. All right. So I need to think of what I'm going to do here. So we have this flag, like, so the run directive creates a procedure. That procedure gets marked as having an implicit return value, which means that if we have a return statement, at the end, that return statement, of course, takes a void, and that's no good. We could just hard-coded check for a return statement. I mean, that doesn't handle like if something return one thing, else return another thing. But it might be good enough for now. And then the question is, if we have a return statement in the middle, does that actually work? And we could write a test for that, though. Like, the reason I don't, here's the thing. I was complaining a second ago about weird aggressive questions. There's nothing wrong with like aggressive questions from somebody who knows what they're talking about. And if I know that they know what they're talking about, because then it's like a legit test of, it's like a legit mixing of ideas and like a test of, whether something can stand up to inquiry, right? So that's good. But like when it's multiple randos on text chat asking aggressive questions, it's a totally different thing, because it's like, what has this person ever done? I have no idea. They're a funny name in a funny color on Twitch. Like, why do they get to expend a large amount of my time through very little of their time because they haven't done anything, right? So it's just a different calculus in that case, which is why it's annoying. And again, especially when the information is actually out there for anybody who actually cared, which then signals that the people asking these questions don't actually care that much. So why are they trying to burn that much of my time when they don't actually care that much? That's what bothers me about it. That's all. So I think we're gonna hacketize this for now and see if we come up with a better solution later. So if we have implicit return value, we could just make the return statement return the value, which is weird. But that'll make all this other stuff work. Let's try it. Let's try it. So we would need to go into type checker, make return actually have a type in that case, in this case, right? And then in the runner, we need to return the expression register, which should be easy. Might not. We'll see. So, oh, here we go, return. Okay. If it's got an implicit return value, we do something. Otherwise, we set it to void. What is it? Well, we say this is here, so that if you say return at the end of a run block, not earn, run block, then this can actually work. This is kind of a hack, and we would like to have a better solution long term. we're going to mark that implicit return statement. Implicit, explicit. Okay. So then, bytecode builder. Emit return. Okay. Arg register. We want to return the first one. We do. We do already. Nobody should be using this except that. I think that might work. Oh, get single return type. Didn't use it correctly. Get single return type. Lambda type. You implemented SOA in about 20 minutes, but it's as part of the compiler rather than through metaprogramming. You're probably not going to keep it, but it was interesting to see how it would work. I mean, in 20 minutes, it probably doesn't do that much. I don't know. I mean, the thing with the SOA implementation that I had in the compiler certainly took me a lot more than 20 minutes. It was probably several days of making everything work well with it. But yeah, in the end, you know, I ended up with something that still didn't really do what many people would want it to do in the real world. And then by the time I made it flexible enough to do all those things, I would be making enough performance trade-offs that maybe other people would not want to use it because of the performance costs. So it's better at user level, I think, because you could tune it. You can choose the implementation that you want, right? That said, there are some pretty boss compiler features that I have in mind that are going to help it be better at user level than one might think. Okay, what am I doing? We don't really have a test of this yet. Whoops. Release on SOA. Okay, so we're going to go into maybe SOA and say, we're just going to put a return in something. So we're going to say run and insert whatever print hi. No. I'm just putting some junk in here. Return so that wouldn't have worked before. It still doesn't work because too many return values. So if we have implicit return value, we want to elide that check, right? Okay, too many return values. Okay. see, we're going to end up inserting multiple things for this, and that doesn't make me super happy. Because we also want to check return with no arguments and disallow that. Okay. Let's do this. So do we have the lambda type? No. No, we don't. We need that to know whether this flag is set. Argument holder. Well, oh, we do have it. We do have it. So I could set a thing here that says let's just make this see, I'm trying to think of a way to do this that won't add expense to every single time that we call sort arguments for anything. Yeah. So like basically what I want to know is this a lambda, etc. I mean, whatever. At speed, we are paying some extra cost to test for things like is implicit return that are rare. We could probably make this a lot cheaper by just having a custom flags variable that is set to 0 that is I don't know, man. All right. So pool is implicit return, and so if it's a lambda, we'll just check this. Okay. If it has an implicit return value, return is true. So the annoying thing is just we have this extra variable, whatever. So when we get down here, if it's implicit return, if it's not implicit return, put this down there. If it's an implicit return, we will have 0 returns, but want the ability to explicitly provide 1. Okay. Now, though, it is implicit return. This run directive this procedure inside a run directive requires at least 1 return value. And are given here. Requires a... I mean... See, the problem is, unless it's void, which it might well be. Like, see, this is annoying. See, in the case of a regular procedure, we know how much we're supposed to return because it's in the procedure header, which we process before we do the procedure body. It's all good. Everybody knows what's going on. Here, it's a weird case. Where we don't know. We don't know the return value. And I mean, I don't want to do fully banana cakes like type inference on this thing. And even if I did, that information wouldn't be available at this time. That said, this stuff that we are checking here could be checked later. I think. No, actually, this is the right place for it. I don't know what to do about this. It's just a thing. It's a thing that's difficult. So if I take this check out, the problem is that if you just say return semicolon, like a blank return in the middle of one of these, that will be type checked as correct, but then you'll get an undefined results, which is not good. And in fact, I believe that was already true. Let me just make sure I didn't handle this somehow. But I believe that that was already true, and there's actually, I'm just realizing this now. This doesn't actually have anything to do with the new features we're implementing. It's just something that I didn't realize, right? All right. That's weird. Really? My thing didn't even work. Anyway. Since we're not, let me just do this, right? So I could say X or Z is run of oh, I guess you'll get a warning. Oh, if X is equal to 5, return, right? So here we're returning this last value in like a functional language kind of way. It's a weird special case that we have here for run directives. And maybe that's the problem, but I'm not sure how else to do it. But we're potentially returning early. Ugh. Wait, what? How did, I thought we fixed all this. What? All right, well, we're not even. All right. Oh, well, let's do something with that value, right? So print Z is whatever. It's probably not going to be 7. I'll tell you that right now. It's void. That's extra weird. I'm not sure why that is. Oh, I guess because this is a block. Right. Right. Maybe this is all fine. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe all I do then see, I forgot that in this case, this doesn't actually propagate out, which is fine. I think, oh, but what if it's a macro? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, let's just, okay. For run and insert, we can make it happen. Too many return values. Okay, so I'm actually going to get rid of this. All this stuff that I just did, right? Because we're going to put a no check in on here, just to remind us to delete this dumb code if forget to do that. And then instead, when we make the run directive, okay, we make a lambda somewhere here. Okay. Now, if is run and insert dot members dot add interesting, we did this for body text. It's just that, haha, very funny. Very funny. Okay. This really isn't the right enclosing scope. Whatever. Wait, where did I cut that from? Hold on. So we're going to make a parameter declaration, and it's just going to be, just going to put it in there. This is ampersand. It might be that simple. All right, apparently not. Not all control paths return a value because it's an implicit array. Okay. That totally didn't work. Doesn't the z equal 7 require a semicolon at the end? What's z equal 7? I've had so many different things. Where are you even talking about? Not in principle. Not if you're talking about that one. Why should that not need a semicolon? Because it has braces. Okay. So we have two different weird things going on. Okay, they're not that weird. This one is just our not all control paths return a value freaking out. I don't know why that didn't ever happen for body text. Maybe there's a special case in not all control paths return a value for... Oh no, because body text would have been implicit return. So I feel like if we're going to be serious, and I think after this I want to take a break and just go through the day and think about this some more because it's not totally obvious, and then come back later and do it. But I think, so right now we're doing this weird half-assed syntactic sugar where we make a procedure around this, but then we like flag it as implicit return value or whatever. Like in this case, we should just make it, if we're doing all this, we should just make a return statement, right? For that. If it's not a block. If it is a block, then we don't make a return statement and we expect the return statement. So I think that part is maybe straightforward. This part, I'm not sure why it says it returns void. So if that's the right way to do it, then all this stuff that we tagged implicit, explicit can get removed. Why should that need a... No, yeah, we already asked. Is, what was it called? Is, run, and insert. We make a parameter declaration. Okay, if is, run, and insert, parser new, copy location. Copy location info from expression to ast return. Ast return enclosing scope equals blocks.getCurrent ast return arrow expressions unsorted dot add expression is ast return. So we're just making a return statement. Syntactic sugarly. we should say, this is a weird thing because now that we're adding this, it's like, well, we've modified the ast, right? So like, which may be confusing for people later because this isn't what they typed. And if they see that in processing things, I think that's a category of problem that we're going to look at later, though. Like, we want to solve things first. All right, well, that's not great. What is going on? We're array subscripting. Sort arguments, right? Oh, we have to add a null name. Because these arrays have to be the same length. So why are they two different arrays? Dude, I don't know. They shouldn't be. It just seemed easy enough to keep them in sync back in the day. But sometimes these decisions come back and bite us. Okay, so we got rid of all these, which is great. So here I think we're making a procedure where the body blah, 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 right? And okay. Except no, like, whoops. Okay, we want to parse into the lambda's existing block. Okay. If, this is weird, if is run and insert, we want to parse into the lambda's existing block so that returns wait, what? The expression following run insert must return a string. Let me just double check this before I... Actually, no. This thing that I'm doing may not be necessary. Hold off on that complication first. This is old now. We don't do this for run and insert, and that's the only time that we call this, right? So we say auto that, we go there, go there. It returns something besides string. I don't think that's correct. Why is return value null? That's weird. That's a new problem that we didn't get to before. Wait, what? What? Is this a node? Wow, no. Oh, there's multiple. Okay. Okay. Literal. The value type is uninitialized. Bro. What? Return value. Okay. The implicit return value flag might be screwing with us. I have to make sure it doesn't get set. Okay. I don't know if that'll fix anything, but it'll at least reduce complexity of the situation. Semicolon expected. Okay. I think we're just putting an extra close brace. Like we don't. Oh, that's just cosmetic probably. Let's see. I'm actually not sure why we are getting these strings. I thought we hadn't done that yet, but maybe we did. Do I ever use events to run functions only if values have changed? No. I mean, that's the kind of thing that sounds cool, but just ends up not really helping. Because how do you know if the value's changed? Somebody had to detect that the value's changed, right? Am I going to Day of the Devs? Is that happening this year? I hadn't heard anything about it. So I assumed it wasn't happening. Semicolon expected after expression. Let's just go into debug and see what happens there. We're making good progress. Okay, what is the expression? It's an ident. X. Really? Did someone like eat an extra semicolon? Line 31, character 1. Why is it character 1? What? That doesn't make any sense. Character 2. Why do you think there's an X there? I think this might be there are multiple issues happening. Let's do one thing at a time. Okay, so here we put a tail extra string. Let's just put, whoops. Oh, jeez. Let's just put a brace there for our own psychological well-being for now. Actually, no, let's not. Let's not do it. Let's not do either. Because that sort of implies a new scope is actually being opened, which it isn't. Okay, so we're going back to this file. It's still got the braces, though. Wait, are we looking in the right file? Maybe not. It claims to be. So why do we have the frickin' braces? Did we not build? I thought we did. Looked like we did. Why is it still there? Dude, some days, even the most basic things. Hello, generated from this. I expect to see the hello. Will we? I don't know. Nope. That means we're editing the wrong place. Right? Oh, this is for body text. This is the part that we're deleting anyway. Okay. We must have copied this. Body text. Okay, yeah, it's this one. Great. Great. When you demoed macros a couple months ago, you had a more syntactic way of generating them, but in the recent streams, you've gone back to building strings. No, they're different features. These are two different features. You want to be able to support both. And this is not really macros in the same way. But I guess I see, yeah, I guess I see how you could think of them that way. So if the question is, would I be able to do the same thing that I'm doing now, not with strings? The answer is yes. It's just that the macro system that I demoed hasn't had those modifications made yet. Okay. Okay, I built, did I run? Dude, I don't know what's going on. Like, Did we suddenly switch back to... Dude, what is happening? Haha, what is happening is... So one of the things on our list is to flush correctly the output. So I forgot that I put in this stupid thing. It's complaining about this, but this isn't getting written to this file yet. Because we're not writing the file at all, because we don't update this file when we exit on error. That's what's happening. And that is further on our list. I think. It's on the other list, but we'll put it on this list. Write added strings when compiler exits due to error, bro. That's important. Okay. So that was so confusing, and it was confusing yesterday also, which is why we said that we were going to do this. Hey, look, everybody. After all this flailing, we, well, okay. Things not to do is procrastinate on fixing that one. I mean, I started fixing things. Maybe that wasn't in the best order because it caused some confusion there. Okay, now the thing is, I do want to say, I want to somehow test returning a string from within this body, right? I could just do this. I could just do... Like, that's all I'm really trying to do. The x is whatever thing. Okay. And now this is updated. And I could even put a comment here. And that would still compile. And it goes there. Okay, so this is all working. Putting a return in there is working. That's all I really wanted to test. It's more convenient just to do this anyway, even though we do mess with the syntax tree, and who frickin' knows what we're going to do about that. We'll just have to come up with a higher powered solution to that later. Okay. We've made progress. Wasn't super fast progress today, but we made progress. So that's good. Oh, I could go try this now, because we were going to replace this with our newfangled version here. Except this should work. Maybe. Oh, wait, that's okay. Hold on. We got to build the release compiler because we're being optimistic. Hey, it compiled. Whoops, we have an old commit window hanging around. All right. So we're getting rid of imperative body texts. So that's a struct. We don't do those yet. Bind textures. it's a comment. Okay. Resource config again. Okay. So here we could static assert that. We can go here, here, and then we put this as regular code. Okay, and then in here, we say run and insert this. Something like that. Haha. This form of if statement is a little bit weird, and although this should get marked removed by desugaring. So maybe we should ignore that. Let me see. Probably. This is not the right place to put this check. I'm not gonna doodle on this for now, but like really you want to be able to put macros in here and all this stuff. So this check that it's only case statements should be in type checking, right? All right. Wait. That's still fine. It's this part that has to be in there. Why did you make an append format? This is like another alias for a function that already exists. Okay, append to builder. All right. So we have to put this in there, and then that. But this could be outside. Okay. So it's a little bit better than the old one, but we still, okay, so clean up compiler feature. We would like to be able to put macros, run, etc. inside if, but right now we can't because that's checked in parser, but that is not a good place to check it anyway, because what about user submitted asks? We should be checking for that in typer. I'm going to put that in the in the compiler to do somewhere. Dude, it's been a while. It's a lot of stuff in the to-do. All right. Did I mess something up? It's not a mex. Okay. Let's see if we still render. Because what did we just change? We changed parsing configuration options for shaders in some way, which you would expect to mess things up if we messed it up. And I don't think we did. Any news on the website? No. Casey is on. Why does Casey program? I don't understand. Why does Casey program? Okay. So we're doing pretty okay. We're about at the end of this. So that's a declarative body text that we haven't yet made the functionality for. So the last thing, I guess, is here. Okay. Command line. We just did that. Although this is like exactly the same because we just do the whole thing. Oh no, this is a declarative. Okay, we can't do that yet. Can't do that yet. What was I thinking? That is not one of the ones that we could replace yet. Hash, though. Let's comment it out. What is all this stuff? There's just a ton of commented out code here. Okay. Whoops. Program print. Okay, that's not a thing. SOA, we're doing math. Okay, this is definitely, this was causing a lot more added strings than I thought, and it's because of that body text happening every time you invoke. So this is going to be very good. Even though it looks like exactly the same thing. In fact, it looks like an extra brace. It's still better because we don't have to, deduplication works correctly with this, right? Okay. Okay. Fine. Uh-oh. Not all control paths return a value. Oh, because of this. Probably. No. Still no. Not all control paths return a value. What you talk about, Willis? I might be doing this at the wrong time. Let's see what it has to say. Running the wrong program. Where can you get the grep tool? Yeah, it's a thing called bear grep. Bear grep. What you talking about, Willis? All right. Not all control paths return a value. Why? What state is this lambda in, first of all? See how long it took just to switch to the watch window there? It was like multiple seconds. Lambda has it's polymorphed, which is always a source of potential trouble. It has one statement in it. If it has one statement in it, that means that our run and insert hasn't fired. So this not all control paths return a value is happening too soon? But how is that possible? Because it's supposed to wait on the other thing. Let's make sure that this statement is what we think it is. It is. It set its load directive. It exited. So we said return float 64 max. That's the string that we're adding. We made a load flags, right? Load is complete is 2. So this load directive claims it completed. Did it put things into the wrong scope, target scope? Is data declarations? No. What? What? Okay, that is beyond the pale. How is that happening, bro? Are most of the compiler to-dos relatively easy stuff now? I mean, relatively, kind of, yes. I mean, a lot of the really hairy, scary, terrible things are either fixed or are going to be fixed soon. Like this thing that we're working on, it doesn't look that special, but it's on the route to that. But you also have, there's this other pressure in the other direction, which is just that as the compiler gets bigger and more complicated, just everything gets harder, right? And that's a universal thing about languages or all software or whatever. And so on the one hand, most of the hard problems are solved. On the other hand, now we're more fighting the usual like system complexity kinds of issues. But those are not necessarily hard problems. They're just like elbow grease problems. You know? Compiler seems like a lot of code to hold in your head. It is. It is. Okay. So why are we putting this into a frickin' data scope? How does that make any sense? So we're going to say load s is that and run again. What? Bro. Now I have to dig this out again because ASLR won't let us use the same address. Jerks. Block. Statements. Data. Right. So to load directive 85571. Why is it so different? Well, let's just do the line number. This interface is going to drive me crazy. You guys are fired. Okay. Run block to insert. Wait, load target scope. So that, how did this ever work at all then? What? What? Hold the horses. Hold the horses. We have to set the target scope. This is so weird, dude. All right. Target scope equals run block to, equals block. All right. I like literally never set that. I set it in current scope, but not targets. This is a little bit confusing. It's a little bit confusing. Current scope versus target scope is still very confusing and caused a bug. It done caused a bug. Oh, we're running the wrong compiler. Let's optimistically build release. You're just going to believe that maybe we fixed it. Sometimes you have to believe with all your heart that maybe possibly you fixed it. And you didn't. So you're foolish. Why are you so stupid? So let's look at this again, though. So now our load directives target scope is an imperative block. The lambda block Statement, still 1. Oh, because the statements are going inside. Oh, you know what it is? Are not all paths, okay. This is the problem, is this thing doesn't understand. I just didn't think about this part. Okay, never mind. The real problem is the following. This thing needs to know who can have a subblock that has stuff. And well, if it's a directive run, okay, and if that run has a block to insert, by the way, this also isn't going to work with macro expansions yet because we never added that. We need to have some general function that tells people, right? So if it's got block to insert, then bool ret equals block returns on all paths, run block to insert. If ret return true, break, not Barack, break. Barack Obama. Barack Obama. Small raid. Hello, small raid. What up, small raid? 15-month resub. That's crazy. To think I'm even 15 months old. Look, it's gone. It's gone. We're doing so good. Does it run? Does it blend? We replace the max and min everywhere. Okay. This is good. This is good. Okay, now and these are all the body texts from those functions, and they're not repeating at all. Although there are way more of them than I would like, they're still not like repeating all over the place, which is great. I mean, really, just return both. Like, what? Like, why do we have so many? I don't know. Like, don't you usually want to know the max and the min? You know? So I kind of feel like combining these. I don't want to do it right now because, you know, but that's a thing that we could do. And those are the usual warnings that we get from tests. All right. Assuming that the tests pass, we are getting somewhere. So we remove the imperative things. Okay. We still have work cut out for us because that was much more of a mess. It took longer than I wanted. We still have a semicolon issue that we're going to have to go do. We still want to make added strings right in the error case. That's going to be good. But we have made good progress. We have made the compiler better. All right, I'm going to go out and Oh, we have a no check-in again. What is with me in these? Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Let's delete all these. I'm glad I did that. Okay. Actually, I think we just do this. Wait. I think we just do this. Okay, let's make sure. Okay, whatever. Whatever, dude. All right. Right. Great. Does this still compile? What was this? That was our initial thing. All right. This is all very good. So we're getting rid of this. We're getting rid of this. Any more no check-in? Implicit, explicit. That thing was not the right way to do it. All right, we're checking in. Ba-boom. All right, so I think I'm going to do another stream later in the evening that we'll look at this. We'll look at that at the bare minimum, and I would like to blaze through those and then start to do the hard part, which is the data scope thing. The stuff we did for the past few hours was not really hard. It's just, it got messy and confusing and hard to think about. And there were a lot of factors and I wasn't sure what to do. And sometimes that's how it goes. But we got through it. And this might be a little bit like that too, but it's at least in attacking this one, actually, the for expansion is different, but in attacking this part, we will at least be working on removing, if we don't get it all the way, what is one of the current major pain points remaining in the compiler. And that'll be good. That will be good. Solve the dupe problem. No, we haven't. That is a different thing. That's on a to-do list. It's just on a different list, because sometimes what happens is to-do lists spawn lots of items and then those spawn items. So that's like a totally different issue. So first we have to fix the circular dependencies problem that happened with the for loops. And then, oh, you know what? This is pretty easy. We could also do this in the easies. Maybe that too. Maybe that. You know what? Let's do those first. Not now, because we're going to end the stream now. But we'll do those. Then we'll start attacking these. And then once we get through all these, we start looking at the other file. So this is capital S SOA, right? Lowercase s SOA has this to-do list. Okay, and we fixed that though. We did that. Body text is not going to exist, so that's fine. And this is duplicated in the other file. So, you know, the goal is to get through these, and then we'll get through these, right? And that's the dupe bug that you're talking about. All right, thank you everybody for coming by. And should we raid some? Let's just see really fast. I don't know if we want to raid anybody. Like if there's something good, we could do it. Otherwise, no. We could raid Casey. We don't ever raid Casey, so he won't notice because he doesn't look at chat anyway. But we'll do that. All right, thanks everybody for coming by. We'll do another stream later today where we continue to improve the compiler, and it'll be all good.